how are you going to create value with AI? Something I would ask you. Like, what is valuable that you're creating? And this is kind of my metric about things are changing in your life, not just because you show up to sessions only, but because you're engaging in between sessions. So there's lots of value, even without AI, that happens between sessions for clients. So I just want to preface with that. It's like the thing that happens in the session is not the only place where value is created. Hey, it's Daniel, and you are about to watch a clip from our free podcast, The Coach's Journey, where we help you navigate the surprisingly difficult path of building a coaching business by people who are actually doing it. And we go live, raw, and unedited every week in our free Facebook community. Hello, Coaches Nation. Welcome to another edition of the Coach's Journey podcast, where we are exploring what it takes to build a coaching business. And things have been changing in the coaching world. We are now doing a lot of things with AI. Well, some of us are, and some of us aren't. And I want to share what's shifted for me since the addition of AI. And I have been using it, yes, sometimes, and sometimes I have not been using it. And it's both somewhat intentional and sometimes unintentional. So we'll talk about that today. And when I first became a coach, I thought like it's all about the coaching experience, and it still is. I still think that is the primary place, but you can add a lot of value in session, and you can add a lot of value using AI outside of session or even in session. And I've realized that most of the power of coaching actually doesn't happen in the session. It happens in between sessions when clients go reflect and go act upon what they're doing, and like attempting experiments and actions, and then coming back and doing this cycle is a cycle. And most of the effective coaching happens in their life, right? That's the whole point of coaching. It's happening in your life. Things are changing in your life, not just because you show up to sessions only, but because you're engaging in between sessions. So there's lots of value, even without AI, that happens between sessions for clients. So I just want to preface with that. It's like the thing that happens in the session is not the only place where value is created. And so how are you going to create value with AI? Something I would ask you. Like, what is valuable that you're creating? And this is kind of my metric about AI. Is it adding value to the client or adding value to the coach? And preferably both. And everything that adds value to the coach can hopefully add value to the client and vice versa. But it depends how you design it. And so what I did for today's podcast is I asked my ChatGPT. I said, I'm going to give you the prompt. I said, summarize how my coaching has shifted since I've started using AI. And I read some of the things it came up with, and I was like, some of these are right and some of these are wrong, because it doesn't know everything I've been doing, but it has some things that I've been working with around AI. And so today I'll share some of what it said and some of what I'm actually doing or not doing, given what it said, partly because I think the use cases that it came up with are really valuable, even if I'm not doing them today, things I may have talked to it about, maybe have experimented with, and some of the things that I am doing to tell you what I'm doing in the real world with coaching. So I'm going to talk a little bit through like what it said. It said, so it's separated into a few different areas, which one thing I like about AI, and I use this in coaching as well as in other things, is give me categories. Here's a bunch of stuff, categorize them, group them. AI is really good at that. So it came up with 4 categories. I didn't ask it to do this. It just did it because it knows that I like grouping things and making it more palatable. So it says strategic depth and efficiency stuff, client experience stuff, business model and offer evolution stuff, and performance, personal performance and reflection. So I like those categories. I don't think that's the only categories, but I'll share. So it said, like, you've moved from manual, slow refinement to rapid AI-assisted iteration, letting you test messaging frameworks and session plans in minutes instead of hours. That is not entirely true. So faster iteration is what it said. Now, you can iterate faster thanks to AI, and I am iterating faster with AI, but it's taking me more time because I'm applying AI and trying to develop a tool and a skill set around what does iteration look like in this new world. So the first point I want to make is sometimes when you're using AI, it will save you time. But if that's your only metric, you'd never use AI because you actually need to practice AI usage and see what works and try things. And that takes longer. So as an example, slow refinement to rapid AI-assisted iteration, that's not true. I actually have a great process in place without AI that allows me to iterate on the client sessions and things. And after sessions I process, and I usually do a write-up for myself and for the client around what's the most important pieces of what we're talking about. And AI, I've been experimenting with doing that process assisted with AI. And honestly, it takes a lot longer in some cases. Sometimes it's a little faster. Sometimes it's a lot slower because I'm also developing a system. So what's the prompt that I use? After the session, what am I doing? So after my sessions, my typical follow-up, and not everybody follows up this way, and it's not a requirement, but my follow-ups are I do a little write-up. And my write up focuses on not what happened, because you can give them an AI summary for the session. And I actually don't always give my clients an AI summary, because a lot of the time it's not as valuable. Like, they kind of know what they went through. They have the chapter summaries in Zoom already, so they have that summary. I don't need to send it to them. That's not a really valuable follow up, because it's already done automatically in my Zoom recording for them. And so what I do is I think about what are the insights and the key takeaways that this client is going through. What's the transformation they're going through? And I try to do a little write up based on that. And so one thing I'm using AI for is to ask AI, what do you think are the key insights here? And a lot of times it gets it completely wrong. So what I've ended up doing is I've ended up taking I write down my key insights during the session as well as after the session. And I tell AI, hey, here are my key insights. Group this for me. And I used to group it myself, and I still do, because sometimes AI doesn't do a great job, but sometimes it does a great job. And so this is why sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't work perfectly. And so I'm iterating on a system to help me summarize the takeaways faster, and then group them faster, and then help me, put them in the right order, and then write it up. And the reports that I have it write up based on these insights are not usually very right on. Like, it's not only not how I would write, but also it's like redundancies and just writing style, a lot of things about it that I don't like. So I can train it, but this is why I'm spending more time, is I'm training my brain on how should I prompt this. So that's an interesting one. It says deeper analysis uses AI to break down coaching sessions and extract themes. That's what I was talking about. So I kind of got that a bit. But I'm thinking, like, it's not as good at breaking down the themes as I am still. And I use key client language for messaging, marketing, and future sessions. Sometimes I do that. Sometimes I don't. It's more for thinking about I have experimented with, like, what does knowing this client tell me about my ideal client? So I'll take a session transcript and analyze it, and maybe multiple sessions. Actually, it's better to get more data and say, like, tell me what this tells me about my coaching style and the clients that I'd resonate with, and extract language patterns. Show me the phrases and keywords that really relate to the things that are deeply true about me and my coaching style and this client, or multiple clients. And you can do this with multiple clients too. Here's 3 transcripts from 3 different sessions. Tell me what you find in common. Tell me what my clients really love about this, with, like, reading between the lines. And of course, AI is not going to be perfect at that. It'll know some things. It'll extract some things, but sometimes it brings up things that I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And I'm like, that is kind of right. But one of the things that's really important about using AI in coaching especially is to not turn your brain off. Don't ask AI the question seeking the answer. Ask AI to spark your conversation, especially about your session or about yourself. Don't let it tell you who you are. Don't let it tell you everything about your client. Like, you need to rely on your instinct. That's why a lot of the times I like to do my own answer before I hit the prompt enter button, because I'll put my prompt in there and then I will not answer. I will not let AI do it until I come up with, like, my own answer. I'll spend it even just a minute or less than a minute sometimes longer, sometimes 5-10 minutes before I let it do it, because I want to see what my answer was. And a lot of times I will take my answer, and sometimes I'm typing my own answer into a separate notepad, and then I'll press enter and have it answer, and I'll say, like, take your answers and here's my answers, and combine them and weight mine at 8 out of 10 and weight yours 2 out of 10, and it will do that pretty well. And so, like, then I'll give me a better answer. So that's not always about the client or myself, but it's about something I'm working on that's related to, like, something internal and I'm reflecting on. So that's a good way that I've used AI as well. It says your frameworks have become clearer and more documented through repeated AI iterations. That is both true and not true. A lot of the times, iterating with AI on a framework is not as valuable as just taking the time out to build your own framework and then asking AI to improve it. So iterating is true, but coming up with frameworks, not as much. So yeah, I guess that's right. It's more clear sometimes, but a lot of the times AI doesn't actually significantly improve my frameworks. And so I tend to, although ChatGPT 5 has been better, it's been come out recently and it's much better at iterating on things. So remains to be seen. But yeah, I would agree with that. I've come up with a way of developing prompts that I've used AI. So one way that I've changed in my coaching practice is I teach my clients about AI when it's relevant, because I have an expertise there. They're always asking about it, and I'll show them some of the things I'm doing in the session. So, like, in the session, my client and I were working on a document that was really important to their business, and so we had talked extensively about that document the last couple of sessions. It's a hiring, they were hiring somebody or planning to hire somebody, so they're thinking about the job posting. What's important for this job? and what's important in this document. And so I said, like, let me show you what you can do with AI. So I took my couple transcripts, I shared my screen, and I said, I'm going to take your transcripts from last session and pull out the things relevant to this job description. I'm going to put the job description in there as well, what we have so far. And then we're going to combine it, and AI did a great job combining it. I identified things we talked about that weren't in there, identifying things that were in both, identifying things that were in the document but not in our discussion. And so we were able to see, and the way I prompted it, I asked it to clarify where it's getting each piece from. And that's one of the things you can do with AI. When I'm doing analysis like that, or in many cases, if I'm preparing for a workshop and have some data, I'll take the data and I'll have it do two things. One is I will have it check itself. So it gives me an analysis. I'll say, like, rerun this analysis and tell me if you detect any hallucinations, or if you detect any inaccuracies, or you detect any changes in nuance or tone that you've lost, and let me know all the things you found, because it's really good at comparing two sets of things, like the original stream of consciousness and then the structured output that it created as a result of my prompt. Compare both and tell me what you noticed is different. And I can sometimes go through one or two clarifications and checks, especially if it's high importance data, and say, like, hey, check yourself against yourself before you tell me these answers. And a lot of the times I will actually make sure that I'm paying attention well enough and reading enough to be able to make a judgment call on that. Because ultimately it's like what my output is that I want, not what the AI tells me. And so this is one of the challenges, is sometimes I just want to go really fast, and the quality of the answer is not going to be good if you just want to get an answer, especially with more in-depth, rich things. So I would encourage everybody to do what I've learned, which is just collaborate more and do your own thinking as you process with AI. Okay, so that was the first category of depth and efficiency. It says elevated client experience. AI has supported you in preparing sharper questions, creating follow-up plans, turning transcripts into structured deliverables. Some of that's true. I don't tend to use AI as much for preparing questions, because a lot of the coaching that I do tends to be, emergent from the session. And so sometimes I will take their intake. I have a session intake for many clients, and the client fills it in ahead of time. And sometimes I will take that intake if I'm like, this is a lot of information they've shared, and I want to think about, like, what does AI think about this? So I often will say, like, what are some questions that would be really powerful to ask in this session based on the following information from the intake? And then before pressing enter, I will write it up myself, come up with 2 or 3 questions that I would ask, which is a great preparation tool, by the way, just to ask yourself, what would I ask this client based on what they said, and actually write it out. It forces you to actually get specific. And a lot of the times I do and don't use that question, depending on what happens in the session. But if AI gives you the question, you're like, oh, that actually is not a bad question. And how well did AI and me match up? It's interesting to see. So next thing it said is personalization at scale. I don't know if that's true. Generate custom exercises, workshop designs, and conversation prompts. Yes, I've done some workshop designs, but I also think that doing workshop designs gives me ideas. It's more of a brainstorm partner. That's great for that. And for example, I had a client workshop recently that I designed and delivered for their team, involving multiple conversations with people in the company. And so I took a lot of the data I had, and I took a lot of the conversations transcripts, and sort of checked all my notes on the slides that I was keeping. And a lot of the AI stuff came up with things that we had talked about, but things that it wanted to do in the proposed workshop design. I'm like, no, we're not doing that. That is not aligned. And it overweighted some things that were not important and underweighted some things that were super important. And so I have been using it that way, and it was definitely helpful. It suggested a couple things that I'm like, oh, I'm definitely going to use that. But the amount of time it took was much longer. But I always remember that the time that I'm spending with AI, when it takes longer to get to the output, is actually investment in my learning. So that's what I encourage coaches to do, is invest in your learning with AI. Try stuff. I know it's going to take longer, but it's a skill set that could be valuable to you, especially if you plan on using AI in the future, which most coaches will want to. And if you're in a more beginner level of coaching, you can actually do your transcript analysis, which can be really powerful for you to learn, like, hey, where did I miss the mark? Where did I do well? And I have a whole prompt that I've developed around evaluate my coaching session. And I found out very quickly, it's going to do what it thinks you want it to do, but it doesn't know the things you know about what you're trying to do in coaching and who you're showing up as. And so I want to make sure I'm still staying in the moment with my coaching and not worrying about what AI is going to rate me. So, like, it's sometimes, when you're in school, you get this this report card. It's like, oh well, you got this D here and a B there and an A there, and you take it personally. It's like, oh, this tells me who I am. No, it doesn't. It doesn't at all tell you who you are. What it does is give you information and data that you can decide to use however you want. Because I was recently looking at a friend of mine's child's spelling essay, and the spelling test. They were in like grade 5 or whatever they were in, or 3, wherever you learn to spell, and write it down and get tested on it. And so they were writing down the words, and the teacher marked them wrong for all the words because they capitalized them. And I was thinking to myself, like, um, I hope the teacher gave them that very explicit, clear instruction. Instead, it was really important because when you hear a word, you don't hear the capital letters or not. So, like, if you capitalize cat, it's still the word cat. So, like, you just got to be careful of like what you let the grading mechanism that AI gives you tell you, because like how you develop the prompt is going to be how the prompt tells you what it thinks you need to hear. And you can make it overly encouraging and not get the feedback that you need. You can make it overly critical and not get the encouragement that you do need when you're hearing feedback. So how are you going to take that balanced approach and get both sides of it? And can you take that feedback and utilize it? So what's going to be actionable? Let me skip through some of this stuff. Business model. Yeah, I mean, new offers. That's true. Your coaching IP has expanded. You are offering prompt coaching and developing various prompts for other people, including coaches. And so definitely helping you develop prompts. And developing a prompt for me is like developing a system. I can say like, hey, analyze my coaching session. You're going to get something from that. It might be useful. But if you think about like, how would I want it to analyze my coaching session? What are the best ways to analyze a coaching session of mine? And you can even ask it for help on those questions. But there's a whole layers upon layers of potential analysis, and like what's the trade-off between time and effort. And so yeah, there's and learning too, time, effort, and learning. And so yes, I have expanded new offers, and AI is part of my offers now. So that's true. Let's see what else this AI said about me. You're creating more repeatable, useful assets. Like prompts, I think would be one of those things, which I can share. Okay, personal performance and reflection. As AI sometimes challenges your assumptions and helps you stay aligned with your long-term vision. That is both true and not true. AI knows a lot about what the things I'm trying to accomplish because of the questions I'm asking it, but I haven't really told it everything about my long-term vision. So probably something to do for me to do. And the more AI knows about who you are and what you want, the more it can help you in context, because the more context it has, the better it is. But there's a limit to the amount of context it can hold. So, the context window, it's getting bigger every release, but yeah, AI is not going to be perfect at that either. Energy management. You spend less time on busy work and more time in your genius zone. I don't think that's true. That is totally not true. So I'm definitely spending more time on these things, like a client follow-up email. That's more time than I used to spend because I'm leveraging the learning of AI and how to build a system where my vision is one day, like, the AI will be very faithfully doing what I want it to do in the way that I like to do it for my clients and the value what they find valuable. And then I've developed a system that will probably have me in the loop at some point, but it will generate the thing and I'll read it and make some minor edits instead of rewrite the whole thing. Maybe that's not actually going to happen, but like, a year or two from now, maybe it would. I don't know. So I'm preparing for that possibility, but also for my own learning. Last one. Okay. Confidence and creativity. It's helped you explore bold ideas, reframe challenges, generate new perspectives, and keep your coaching fresh and adaptive. Oh, that's true. It has been different with AI, and so it's definitely a whole area to explore. But I would like to hope that my coaching is pretty fresh, regardless of AI. And here's the other thing I wanted to share. Sometimes I use AI and sometimes I don't. I have clients who confidentiality is the most important variable for them. And so like they're executives in corporations that are pretty large, and they don't want to share their IP or their inside information. And so no AI allowed. And so I can't even record the transcripts and put it through an AI because they don't let me. And so that's actually, I find that really awesome. Like, on one level, I'm like, oh, I can't use AI to analyze things. And on the other hand, I'm like, this is awesome because it keeps me sharp. It keeps me really focused on like, what do I need to learn and grow, and how can I like get the most for this client? And so these type of clients, you can actually, I would say typically charge more if they want that confidentiality because it's more work for you. I mean, It could be less work depending how you do it, but like the follow up process and the preparation process, and sometimes it's in person, sometimes it's virtual. So it's a whole beautiful aspect of coaching that comes from not having. Sometimes you can call it a crutch, sometimes you can call it a tool, but if I get to use it in all my other coaching, in these examples, I do find it as a really great sharpening tool. So maybe you should have a client or two where you don't use any AI, and that's part of what they wanted, and that's more valuable to them. You could charge more potentially. So those are a lot of the ways that I've been using AI in coaching. I'm continuing to evolve. I didn't even cover all the things that are coming to mind now, but just to keep it brief for the sake of time, I hope you found something valuable in this session about coaching and AI and how I personally related to it. And honestly, just asking AI what it thought helped me build a lot of content for this podcast, which is really, hey, that's another tool. Like ask it stuff about you, about the thing that you're doing relative to you, and it knows some things, and it can prompt you and spark you. It probably won't know the perfect answer. But if you're a coach and you are enjoying this discussion, please make a comment wherever you're catching this. And forward this to another coach. If you think this was a great use of your time to hear this and valuable to you, share it with another coach and tell them about CMC. And you can go to cmc.coach and join our free community on Facebook, or you can join our pro community where we help coaches build their business every week and every month, and we support them very, very well because coaches have a lot of hard things to do. It's hard to build a business based on relationship and connection. You got to be very disciplined, and you hit all the resistance and all the emotional challenges that go with it. They don't feel like emotional challenges, but they often are. Sometimes we think it's just this or it's just that. And today we're exploring like the excuses that we build as coaches in stopping us from growing our business and all the things that you need to do. So with that, thanks for listening to this episode of the Coach's Journey podcast. Again, please share it. Please join our free community, and we will talk